Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Welcome to Everything Old is New Again. We are revisiting the Long Island Doctor Who convention from November of 2014, which Everything Old is New Again attended, David Cohen and myself.
Yes.
Right? We had a dynamic, exuberant time.
We did. Both dynamic and exuberant.
Exactly. It was a lot of fun. It was a 2-day event. Actually, I think they had 3 days and a night before they did music. So we didn't attend all of these things. But I honestly, looking back, kind of wished I did because it was really a fun event.
It was really fun. I mean, the people watching was great, and the little breakout sessions were really, really interesting, all of them.
Yeah, and when you say breakout sessions, you're actually talking about, I again harken back to Star Trek conventions. Star Trek conventions are more. They're getting a little away from it. They're more orientated towards stars and people that were on the show and listening to them speak and getting their autographs that you pay for and getting their photographs that you pay for and other things and paraphernalia that they're selling. And trust me, it's a lot of fun. I'm not putting it down at all. But it's a different feel for the Doctor Who because what they did, again, they had a number of stars, but not anybody from the recent show, but still, a number of stars that were doing panels discussing the Doctor Who phenomenon and their participation in it, taking questions, which again Star Trek does also. But the thing I thought was very interesting when you say breakout, they had other panels, a full day of 3 or 4 rooms filled with scheduling. So maybe I'm going to make it up, but I think probably about like 20 different panels, not all of them with stars of the show.
Right,
a lot of them with fans that had topics to talk about.
Yeah, that are such super fans about one aspect or segment of the show that they packed the room. So
yeah, so I mean,
really
isn't
cool.
that pretty cool? I mean,
Really
they
is.
didn't the topic, and this is the way Star Trek conventions used to be back in the day. But now there's so many actors, and listen, everyone loves to meet the actors and talk to them and all. I'm not putting it down, but to me, and Star Trek's starting to do this now at Vegas. I was there. They're starting to do some of this. It's nice to have something else besides, how long did it take to put the makeup on or something,
Right,
and hear that again, or the same kind of questions. It's nice to hear fandom, kind of drive these seminars, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
You see the exuberance, and we'll talk about later on tonight. They had a show. I shouldn't say show, a panel, Star Trek. What's the similarities between Star Trek and Doctor Who?
That's crazy.
Which is pretty fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of other things, which we'll talk about. But I want to just take a look back in this section of the show of the 2005 incarnation. What would we call this? A reboot of Doctor Who, and how successful it is. It's on BBC America, and it's really having great ratings, I think, and it's something that Fraser Hines, who was a character in the original series, has some nice comments about when I asked him. And have you seen some of the new incarnation, any of the shows since, say, 2005?
Yes, I have, and I must say I do like Peter Capaldi because I thought it was time for an older Doctor. He's serious, but I think with Capaldi he's got a little twinkle in his eye that, he could be a bit naughty.
And every so often it's early in the series, but there is a little homage here and there to the past.
That's right. The other week there was a picture of Patrick Troughton as Robin Hood when he was Robin Hood on TV, and I thought, I like it when they keep going back, and when David Tennant called himself Captain James Robert McCrimmon, and I thought, that's nice. They just, remember the past. That's good.
And I think that serves in a nice way where people are watching the program now, but they're reminded of the history and maybe turn on wherever it might be that they can get the older episodes.
And with kids coming up to me now, and they've got the DVDs, the old black and white, and I said, do you watch the black and white? Oh, yeah, it's very scary, the black and white, which is the classic rocks. That's what I say.
and he's talking about also interesting. I caught that little bit about a picture about Robin Hood. He's talking about, because sometimes I mention actors, you may not know what he's referencing. He's talking about the new show where there's a picture in the background of an actor that played Doctor Who back in the 60s in the background.
That's great.
So it's an homage, they're saying.
Right.
So it's nice to see that, and I've talked to these people and get every quote on the radio here, but what they were saying in some ways was they know that the writers of the new shows were fans back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and so then they're doing this on purpose, of course, and they want to make it more serious and more contemporary now, but they want to not forget the past.
Right.
Which is exactly what our show is, I think.
Pretty
No?
much, yeah.
We're giving it an homage, or
We have to
trying
get that picture of you when you played Peter Pan many years ago. That would
Actually,
be really
I played,
funny.
I did play not Peter Pan, but I played the one of the brothers. I still remember my line. You ready?
Go ahead.
Here, Peter, you could use my sword.
Wow,
It was
I
my-
love the English accent.
Well, I'm no Captain Balzac, but that's an homage back to our show about pirates and
Pirates.
the pirate genre a couple of episodes back. If you missed any of those episodes, feel free to listen to Everything Old is New Again .biz or listen to them on that website. Let's hear Wendy Padbury, what she has to say about the new actors.
Have you seen the difference in the doctors and interpretations, and is there one that catches your fancy, as you would say?
Well, I have to say that obviously my favourite was Patrick Troughton, and I am slightly biased. I did love David Tennant, but then he's so gorgeous, what's not to love? And Matt Smith I liked. I really, really liked Matt Smith, but then I was Matt's agent, so I am slightly biased about him as well. And Peter, I went to the screening at the Odeon in Leicester Square of his first episode. And I think he's going to be sensational. But that first episode, at the very beginning, I was nervous for him. It's a big thing, for an actor to take on the mantle of the Doctor. But as the story went on, I thought, yeah, okay, you're going to be absolutely brilliant, and I think he is.
We're running short on time, but that was Wendy Padbury, who was the third companion back and played that character a couple of years back in the 60s.
Wow.
A lot of fun. Let's just, before we jump to the commentary, let's listen to Ms. Ashbrook, a different character, talking about the Long Island Convention experience. We're on Long Island in Ronkonkoma at a convention that's going to run for 3 days here. Yes. Have you participated in conventions before? And if so, what are your expectations, do you feel, for this weekend?
I was here for the first one, and I happen to know the guy who's running it, Ken Deep, who he's the best, in my opinion. He runs the conventions the best. The guests are happy. He creates such a great atmosphere and so many fun things to do and so many great combinations of people, wonderful panels, music. We did the big concert last night. So, he throws everything at it.
So from a fan's point of view, this is a situation where fans can come to the convention and not just look and stare, but maybe possibly interact with people that are involved in the show.
Oh, absolutely. It's just so much fun.
I had fun speaking with her. We'll talk to her a little bit later again, but just introducing what the experience is like for fans and for the actors at these Doctor Who conventions. And back to Wendy Padbury. Also, these people are coming back from the early '60s. And this Ms. Ashbrook is from the Incarnation in '96. So the actors are experiencing the convention circuit. And having a lot of fun with that as well. Are you impressed with the presentation of our show in asking these questions to these stars of the Doctor Who?
You do a really good job. You even try to ingratiate yourself with that British culture by, I think you said, which Doctor Who do you fancy? And then you said, as you would say.
That was, as it was coming out of my mouth, I wanted to grab it back. As you would say. What does that mean? But I was trying to.
But do you fancy? When do you ever use the word fancy?
I'll tell you what I should have said there is, if you will. But because that's one of my sayings on the show that I can't stand anymore, I tried to replace it with as you would say, and it was totally inappropriate. And we'll hear later on.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant that you fancy instead of if
that
you will.
Like. Ooh, that was me falling over the microphone because I just am stumbling and bumbling here, trying to
Right.
defend
But you
myself.
kind of fancied the whole convention, from what I can gather.
And how did I even come to that? Like, it's kind of like, am I making fun? I don't know. Is that making fun of like her accent or her culture by saying,
no,
as
to
you
me,
would say,
it just-
fancy? I mean, it's
I
so
don't think you
stupid.
meant to say that. But
No,
yeah.
but-
And which it was almost like this: like, which doctor do you fancy, as you would say?
Right, you Englisher, you know.
Yes. You highfalutin piece of
I don't
garbage.
truly understand your culture, but I'm going to try to
Why don't you hop
assimilate.
back across the pond where you came from?
Speaking of which, we'll come on back in a few seconds after we have some fun here. And everything old is new again. .biz. We're going to talk about the Long Island Doctor Who convention continuing in a minute.
Hi, it's Yi-Ji Cho. I played Chang Li in the Doctor Who TV movie, and you're listening to Everything Old is New Again.
How about that?
That's a cool one. I like that.
He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward. I'm looking forward to building our repertoire of these. They call them returns in the radio business when we come back from commercials.
Are we in the radio business?
Well, we're on the radio.
That's a better way
How
to
much
say
of
it.
the
Yeah.
business we're in. But anyway, this is Everything Old is New again, in case you're just tuning in. And we are enjoying a nice discussion and repertoire between David Cohen and myself about the Long Island Doctor Who convention experience that we had in November of 2014. And the person or the people that were putting this convention on were gracious enough to have us come in, speak with any and all of the guests that they had attending.
We set up our little booth.
Set up a booth and said hello to some of the some of the fans. Some of them
A lot of them,
basically
right.
going to stop by and asked us which way is the men's room. But I mean,
Well, the fact that we were parked right outside the men's room, I think, kind of helped.
we gave a lot of directions out to a lot of people. They didn't actually know who we were. But
They had no choice but to pass us.
I remember one time, they let out. We were also near one of these rooms where they have the symposiums, these panels, and they let out, and it was a thin little area to walk by, and a lot of people walking by.
And it slowed down, so they had to stop actually in front of our booth,
Exactly.
waiting to exit.
And
it was
look
the quintessential captive audience.
Yes, and we had fun, and I think
You fancied it, from what I remember. We were talking before about Doug's interview where he asked, who was it?
Wendy Padbury.
Wendy Padbrick, which doctor she fancied, as you would put it, Doug said.
Yeah, it all went awry with her. She's a lovely lady. I never even say that about that word "lovely" too much, but she really is.
Yeah, what is this? Lovely.
And I'm gushing about it because she was tremendous, but everything I said to her went awry at one point or another. We'll hear that later on.
Oh, cool.
So a little behind the scenes. Right now, though, Daphne Ashbrook was a attendee at recent Star Trek conventions as well, and she's going to give us a little perspective on that versus the Doctor Who's experience.
Everyone in Doctor Who that I've ever met, they love interacting and they're generous with their time. It's just really special, and it's not like that on other cons. I've been to other cons too, because I've been on Star Trek too, and those cons are different. There's a little more business. It's a little more distant from people. I don't enjoy that. I've realized that's not what I like to do.
When you say business, you're probably talking about, I guess, the opportunities where fans would have photographs or autographs with you in those conventions are a little bit different than
Yeah, it's
than
just sort of
these.
more like a production. It's just like move them in, move them out, move them in, move them out, and there's no real chance to kind of really stop, take a breath, and get to know people.
So, I hope I don't get her into trouble because she was so nice as well. But she knew she was being recorded, so, that's fine. It's not that controversial, but, I mean, she does prefer the Doctor Who experience. But bearing in mind, she was a major character in the film, and in Star Trek she was, a big character. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But it's interesting, the perspective from an actor or actress. It's been to both and what she experiences.
Right.
And it shows how the interaction is important to her. It's kind of fun,
Right,
this person wants to be at this convention and wants to talk to the fans. I'm not saying people in Star Trek aren't like that, but you have good and bad in everything. I'm sure there are people on both sides of the aisle that kind of like they're there for the paycheck.
Right, right.
I'm sure
exactly.
of that.
They don't mind the cattle calls of the Star Trek conventions because they don't have to work too hard. They don't want to. But she seems to genuinely enjoy talking with people.
Yeah, and she was all over that convention. She had a lot of fun.
The con, as she called it.
The con, right? And there's other opportunities at the convention besides autographs and panels. They actually have people watch, the stars watch a particular episode with an open mic and talk about the experience itself. Let's hear what that's about.
What is your general overall experience with the fan interaction at the various conventions that you've been to?
It's amazing, and they are amazing. They make the convention. We happen to be there by the grace of God. We happen to be in something that has become so popular, and if it wasn't for the fans, we would not be here doing these conventions. They're brilliant. I salute them every time.
I guess they're going to show the episode and leave a mic open for you?
Yeah, that right. Maybe to recall some things that happen during filming, something like that. But anything really to get the fans interested. They're interested in anyway. They're just so good.
So have you done that before?
Yes, only once, and it was terrifying. It's like doing a first night in the theatre. But we got through it, and I think they enjoyed it.
Colin Spalls, who that was, we've heard from him before.
Yeah,
that's an interesting take. Nice.
Yeah, he's down to earth, he appreciates the fact that look, there's millions and millions of really great actors out there, and they did get lucky, being in it. So
right.
He's appreciative of that.
Right. And let's hear from Wendy Padbury about the panels.
I love a panel because it's always fun, and it doesn't really matter who you do your panel with. I mean, obviously there's a reason for me doing a panel with, say, Debbie and Fraser, because we're Patrick's little group. So that's always fun. But every convention brings its own thing. Although the basic premise is the same, every convention is different, and it's just a lot of fun. I know the fans thoroughly enjoy getting together, regardless of us lot, just to meet mates and have a great weekend. And it's a bit the same for us,
So she's expressing it perfectly, I think,
right.
from their point of view. It's kind of cool. It's like a reunion for them.
It is. It is, absolutely.
She's visiting with people that she hasn't seen in a number of years.
Right.
And she's a very interesting person, because she... this is kind of, I think it's interesting. I'll throw it out there. She was on the show in the 60s, early, in the whole experience. She acted for 3 years on the show. She was in her 20s. She quit the show. And then I don't know much of a career that she had thereafter, but at some point she turned into an agent. And she became the agent of this guy, Matt Smith, who was one of the new ones in Doctor Who, Doctors in the 2005 incarnation. So it's funny how it built her career outside of acting.
Right,
she was an entrepreneur, if you will, really to be respected, that she turned that into, all right, I'll be an agent now.
Right.
I don't know. I find that very interesing.
Yeah, ironic. Yep.
But this is the perception that the Doctor Who fandom has of these people, because all the fans that you saw walking in the hallway immediately, were they frowning, smiling? What was your experience, you think, with these fans?
Oh, you could tell right away they loved being there. That was readily apparent right off the bat. I didn't see one person who felt like they were just being kind of dragged along because their daughter wanted to go or their dad wanted to go. Everybody looked really into it, like they were having a good time. And as she mentioned, I think they were there more to see each other than necessarily the the stars from the show. And we were talking before about how many of those little breakout sessions were given by these Uber fans, not necessarily by anyone really connected to the show. So that was cool.
And I guess what we're trying to say, life is so hard, really, outside of some of this entertainment. I mean, for a lot of people, it's difficult, and paying bills and going through all the difficulties politically in the world, and wars and terrorism, all that. And so it's kind of nice to have something that you could share that's wholesome.
Right.
Really. That is wholesome and family orientated, but also, 50 years of stories. It goes on and on. There's a lot of stories and
stuff
going on. How do they keep
writing all those stories?
Yeah, it's we'll have to look into that next time we interview these people. I love this theme of the Doctor Who series on
groovy.
Everything. Yeah,
it's groovy.
Everything Old is New Again. Jamie McCraven. We'll be back in a couple of seconds just when you hear this. We are here at Everything Old is New Again, and we're asking the question, do you want to communicate with our show? And if you do, how do you do so? We'd love to hear from you. What you simply need to do is either go to our website, which is everythingoldisnewagain.biz, or what you could do is go directly to the internet and send us an email at oldnewagain@aol.com. We'd love to hear any questions or comments, suggestions for new shows, disagreement you have with what we're discussing, because as you know, we are here to start the arguments you love to have. Come on back. Everything Old is New Again.
Everything Old is New Again is sponsored by the law office of Douglas Viviani. Douglas Viviani has been providing quality legal service for over 26 years. We're a general practice firm and can handle any legal matter you may have for a reasonable fee. If you're involved in a car accident, starting a business, planning your estate, or need a criminal attorney, please call 631-681-1910 or email us at vivianilaw@aol.com for a free consultation. Get the justice you deserve. Contact the law office of Douglas Viviani at vivianilaw@aol.com. This show is sponsored by ResumeDoctorInc.com. When you're looking to change your career, apply for a promotion, or find a job, your resume is the first thing seen that represents you to a potential employer. Make sure your resume makes a clear, concise, and professional impression of who you are so you can get that job. Send your current resume to ResumeDoctorInc@aol.com for a free online review. You'll receive a reasonable quote to properly prepare your resume. Let us make sure you have a resume that will get you noticed. Send your resume or questions to ResumeDoctorInc@aol.com. That's ResumeDoctorInc@aol.com.
Hey, this is Daphne Ashbrook, and you're listening to Everything Old is New Again. It's lovely.
She says lovely. See, if the other fella called me brilliant, she's calling me lovely.
She's not English, though.
No, she's doing the same thing I did with the...
She wasn't calling you lovely. You got to get off this thing.
Yeah, I think she was. I really do. I think it just went well with all these people.
Did you fancy that?
I think she fancied me. I don't know. Let's take a look. Am I wrong? Let's listen to what went on here, a little behind the scenes. I don't know.
Thank you very much for your time. We certainly appreciate it, and it's been a pleasure.
You're sweet.
We'd
Thank you
love
so
to see
much.
you again.
Thank you.
I don't know if you did. You catch that? No. I listened to. Just listen to what she says.
Pleasure.
You're sweet.
We'd
Thank you
love
so
to see you
much.
again.
Thank you.
You're sweet.
She's calling me
You're
sweet.
sweet.
It's nice little something there. You don't think it went to swimmingly there?
Fine. What's your point, though?
I want you to listen to a little of the compliments that we got as we went along. This is a lot of fun.
All right.
We'll agree on that.
Okay, fair enough.
You're a diplomat.
Paul McGann calling me a diplomat.
You're a diplomat.
Yeah, you hear it behind the scenes. And you got this Colin Spall.
I have the pleasure of interviewing and speaking with Mr. Colin Spall.
Brilliant, thank you so much. It's great to be back.
He says you're brilliant right there.
He didn't say you're brilliant.
And as my wife says, I have a fertile imagination where I insert like meanings to stuff that really doesn't exist.
You? No.
Yeah, it's
Come
possible.
on.
Well, let's hear what this character has to say.
Crossover, there's maybe like 60 to 80% of the content is has probably been gone over before, but there's some unique stuff always. Like same with interviews. We're talking about stuff now that I've never talked about before.
E.G. Chow, complimenting me how we after all these discussions he's had, we're finally asking questions he's never asked.
Why do you feel you need this recognition about how well you did? That's
I guess
puzzling.
that we could put me on the couch there and see. It might be something.
I'd like to know.
Well, it could be something to do with going to see Cats and being. If you heard our show on Broadway and hearing the way I was treated thereafter, going to the Dracula movie and thinking I would get some kind of accolade for showing a certain young lady a nice time at that, and how that went awry. I think it is kind of a theme there.
Wow, that really affected you. Those two events.
Well, for the purposes of the show, they did. Yes.
I think it goes beyond the show, but that's another show. Let's do another show. We'll have you on the couch.
That wouldn't be bad. It would be
it would actually be pretty interesting. I think
you'd open up a can of worms. You'd have to do it'd be more than the September Silliness 10-show episode. It might become like a subplot of
a 20-parter. Right.
So I don't know if you thought that I was
you did
doing
fine.
well.
Yes,
there,
you did well.
Right,
Okay,
so.
is that what you wanted to hear?
But did you? Jeez. I don't know what you You're not feeling too good about it. I want to hear what Wendy Padbury has to say.
I'm welcoming Wendy Padbury from the Doctor Who series. Now, we're celebrating Doctor Who here, over 51 years of this series being on the air. And I know you've probably been asked almost every question under the planet. What question have you not been asked that you want to ask?
No, I have been asked pretty much everything. So there's nothing that I can think of that, other than anything that's not to do with Doctor Who. Plenty of those sort of questions. Yeah.
Very good.
State of the world, you know.
Well, our time is limited, otherwise we could probably solve the world's problems.
Yes.
But we'll have to resign ourselves to Doctor Who. And along those lines, you were the second companion, or...
No, not the second companion. I was with the second Doctor.
Right, and that was back in 1966. So I could...
1968.
Oh, my information is wrong.
I was in
apologize.
Doctor Who 1968 to 1969.
Terrific.
The freaking Wikipedia gets them
Wow.
wrong, man.
Told you about
That's
it.
got to be corrected at some point. So we such a lovely lady, but man, started off and I mean, I have to be. Maybe this is some of the reason why I wanted to get the compliments for the others, because this started to go awry a little bit.
Now you're showing the bad side.
Yeah, I'm trying to be honest. It went awry a little bit. Not her fault. More or less, my fault. I tried again. I went back on the horse. Let's see.
Have you followed the program since you've left?
Yes, not religiously, but on and off I've always made a point of seeing each new Doctor as they've come along, because, why wouldn't I?
And do you make a point of seeing each new companion as well, or just the new Doctor?
No, mainly just the new Doctors.
Yeah, I'm trying to get her to talk about the companions because she was a companion. It's just not going there at all. It's like, no, just the Doctors. I'm not giving you more than that. That's it.
She's a bit batty, though, isn't she?
No,
because she said, "Why wouldn't I? Why? Of course, I want to see the different Doctors, because why wouldn't I?" I'm like, "Well, I can give you a million reasons why you wouldn't." I mean,
not on the
quite
show about the
understand.
Doctor Who conventions. We wouldn't give those reasons.
No, I mean for her. Why does she have to go and see?
Well,
every
she's
Doctor?
she's a staple of the show. I mean, she had been on for years and years, and when it was just starting out. And
I'm just trying to help you out here, Doc.
Yeah, I know. I'll try one more try.
This has been going on for 51 years.
I know.
And do you have, since you're sort of in the foundational area where you've built this legend, or helped to build the legend, the question is, do you have an explanation as to how it's continuing and why?
I have no idea. I mean, if I knew that, I'd be a wealthy woman.
I mean, it just I couldn't get it right.
Every question, she just shot you down.
Poor lady. I mean, she's probably thinking to herself, who is this boob with this show that, talks about everything old is new again, or what the heck is going on?
Well, but I don't know if it was you, because, well, you did get some of the facts wrong, but
Yeah.
But still, she could have just been, okay, does it matter whether it was 46 or 48,
Well,
So
all right,
the fact
yeah.
that she had to, point out your mistakes was a little...
Well, she wasn't perfect either. She made some mistakes.
Very much looking forward to seeing you this weekend. There's a lot of interaction, photographs, panels, and so forth. And we'll be introducing that on our show. And thank you very much for appearing on Everything Old is New again. I appreciate
You're very
your time.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you might be able to just do a quick who you are and that you're listening to Everything Old is New again? We do
Yeah.
that as a return.
Everything all is new.
Everything Old is New again.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
There you go.
Everything old, as new.
Is new again.
Is new again. Get it the wrong. Oh, yeah. Everything new is old again.
Everything
Yeah.
old is new again. Okay.
I love that. I love
What am I saying?
that.
Okay. Hello, my name's Wendy Padbury, and I'm listening to Everything Old is New Again. New again.
There you go.
Everything. Yeah, everything is.
Don't spread it the wrong way. You're going to confuse people. They won't get it on the internet.
I mean, we were having fun, but we just couldn't get it right.
I thought it was over.
That's
Sorry,
all
I
right.
stepped in, but yeah, I loved in your voice though when she said everything new is old again. You went, everything old is new again. It's like you little ain't good enough.
I wonder if she was sort of subliminally, like, in all the mistakes I was making, if she was making that mistake on purpose just to kind of zing me,
How old is she? by the
I
way.
don't know. I don't.
She's
She
not
looks
very
wonderful.
old.
She's very active. She's very spry. I'm not picking
Right.
on her, honestly. Let's be clear about it.
No,
We're
meaning
just
that-
having fun with
but
her.
she's not like 95 years
no,
old or
no,
something, right?
no.
So
She's very with it. No.
very with it. So, no.
All right, so listen, she never heard of our show before. You know, she's been,
nerve.
living under a rock. I guess now she knows who we are. And but it was a lot of fun, speaking with her and all the other people. And I'm just having fun here with the idea that I was so great. But I was sweet to Daphne.
Yes. Look, they all liked you. So you did a good job.
Yeah, but
Well
if they
done.
were standing outside right now, looking in, like waiting for a flight, we're in MacArthur Airport now, waiting for a flight back to England or something, they're looking in, they would not know who I am for Adam.
Oh, look at that.
I don't know, I'd
Look at
try.
that gentleman. Thankfully, they're not interviewing us.
Is that everything new? Is old again?
He looks like such a creep.
Had a nice time with all those stars.
We certainly did.
And I wonder, you I know attended one of these panels at one point.
Yes.
You got pulled away from our booth at the
Yes.
convention.
Yes, I did.
I don't know if you remember. Do you remember the experience?
I
of the
do.
story?
Why do I'm feeling like Ed McMahon over here. Yes. Yes, you are correct, sir. Yeah, there was the superfan little talk about building the the
TARDIS, I think
the
it's called.
TARDIS, right?
Yes.
And it was packed. There were people.
In other words, the topic was how to build it.
How to build and like a
Right.
real one. I'm
But
talking
they had
about,
brought one, by the way. Those
They
people.
brought and it was
From
on display.
Arizona, yeah.
It was phenomenal. So it was a husband and wife, or a man and woman. I don't know if they even knew each other, but whatever. They were leading the panel, and they were talking about constructing the TARDIS. But she was talking about how she was actually asked. They were filming in Arizona somewhere for some reason. They were filming a segment for the show, and they asked her to be an extra. And she was like, "Oh, are you kidding? This is great!" And they gave her a couple $100 for being an extra. She went out and got a tattoo, a Doctor Who tattoo of the Doctor who was played by David Tennant. And somehow, word got around about this, and on a radio show in England, David Tennant was a guest. And they asked him about this lady who's claiming that David Tennant bought her a tattoo of himself. And she was listening to it like, oh, my God, how did this get back to him? And she called into the show. And she got him, and because he denied it. And he finally admitted, yes, I guess I did pay for that one.
That's tremendous. It's a lot of fun. Personal stories are always the greatest. And we'll be coming back to finish off our discussion of Everything Old is New Again, the Doctor Who.
Hello, my name's Wendy Padbury, and I'm listening to Everything Old is New Again.
Ah, there we go. You see?
She got it right.
Got it right. Is that
Well,
nice?
wasn't it? And you're listening to? Shouldn't it be instead of I'm listening to?
Well, she's listening now. She's a big fan. She didn't understand what the show was about, and now she's a huge fan.
She's a firm grasp on what we do.
Because she fancies our show at this point. The fool I made of myself with that poor lady. Everybody else I did great, right? I think I made a real idiot of myself. She was the greatest. But anyway, this is Douglas Viviani. That's David Cohen. We are talking about Everything Old is New Again, the Star Trek, the Doctor Who experience, the Doctor Who convention. I mentioned Star Trek because there was a panel there where they speak about Star Trek and Doctor Who and some similarities, and it was run by some fans, and I stepped into that, and I don't know, I'll bring you in there with a little bit of a clip here, see what was going on.
So, where should we begin? Well, similarities between Star Trek and Doctor Who.
Well, both shows appeal to us because, like, Star Trek has been said to be, like, by Roddenberry's vision, a wagon train to the stars.
You can tell stories in space that you can't tell on Earth.
But it also can reflect
tackle
social issues and cultural issues and stuff.
That's actually the thing, that both shows were tackling things in the 60s. Things like, Nazism and totalitarianism and civil rights and also they were doing things that other shows couldn't or wouldn't do.
Well, if you look at the Borg and the Cybermen, both of them are alien races that are bent on destroying humanity and eliminating individuality and emotions and feelings. And
that very closely reflects on things like communism of the time.
Not really a great clip. I apologize for the quality of that. But I don't know if you heard what they were kind of saying. Maybe did you make it out or no?
It was a little hard to hear.
Yeah.
It was a little hard to hear. Come on, why don't you sum it up?
Yeah, or you weren't listening.
No, I was listening. This time I was listening.
Okay. No, but they were talking about how the similarities of the two shows were more or less on the social issues that were attacked or approached or talked about in various episodes of both shows. Talk about civil rights, totalitarianism. I talked about individuality, how important the individual is versus being just part of a mob or a group.
That was impossible to hear. I did not hear that.
Yeah. I should have.
Cool.
I apologize. I tried to clean it up as much as possible, but it was said well.
I could tell they're into it, though.
Yeah, these people. Not to make fun. These people, they're thinkers, Yeah. And it's fun to see that. See people that are getting out of fiction and science fiction, in particular here, something that's relevant to their life that they're thinking about and affects them maybe for the positive.
Right.
We go through our day every day and we're worried about the traffic light, or we're worried about, will you have it for lunch and that kind of stuff. And, day-to-day issues, and we have lots of stuff on our plate. But when you have some kind of entertainment that gives you the chance to widen your horizons, it's fun.
Or thought-provoking, makes you think instead of just, sitting there watching some sitcom.
Yeah, sitting there trying to decide, what's the best sitcom of all time. It's just silly.
You beat me to it.
But we're of course referencing a show, 10 shows we did on that topic.
10.
There were half-hour shows at those.
But
didn't
we probe deep into the deep meaning behind sitcoms? No. No, we didn't.
Not in those 10, no.
Those 10.
You can look back. We'll do that in the future. Well, you can look back at those, and please feel free to do so on everythingoldisnew.biz. We have our podcast there, so you can listen to the older, shows that we've done and see how we've grown from there, if at all. We also, while at this convention, spoke with the 8th Doctor, Paul McGann, and I hinted a little bit about this previously, how radio drama was and still is very big in Europe and in Britain in particular, and how he's done so many of these radio plays that he's quite known for being the Doctor, not just for the one time he played it in 1996, but for all these radio plays. I asked him about
you
that.
Didn't end your association with Doctor Who with just that performance.
And 3 years later, we began. I was invited to begin the Big Finish audios, the audio adventures, which have really now grown and grown and grown from that. More and more and more and more people now have the pennies dropped about them, and they're buying them.
And I think you've played the part approximately 70 times in that way. So then the question is, are you not the one that's played the Doctor more than anyone else if you combine the incarnations?
I don't know about that. I never counted. Whatever number it is, you just say, I'll believe you. I've never counted them. They call me the longest and the shortest. That's the name which I wear with pride. Although I probably shouldn't.
Certainly, being on the radio, we respect the audio just as much as the movie and as the
and I'm a great champion of it. And every time I come to the USA, I'm kind of mystified as to, because I'm convinced this is where radio drama really started, right? Its first heyday. There was once a great tradition of radio drama here, which has kind of lapsed. I don't think the love for it has lapsed amongst people that get it. The fans would love it, I think. Whereas in Britain, say, we can have careers as performers. So for us, still, it's a strong tradition. But I'm glad now to see that it's finding its feet again.
I think that's an interesting perspective. Just as an idea, just to get the longest and the shortest, he means the shortest time as the Doctor on television, or in that movie. He only did the one movie, but the longest, because again, he's done this. He doesn't realize, but he's done 70 of these radio plays, and that's 70 appearances as this character. And I think that's more than most, if not any, other Doctor.
He really does sound like Paul McCartney. Are they from this? Is he from Liverpool?
When we get McCartney on the show, I think he's calling in from Southampton one of these days. We'll have him say the same things this fella says, and we'll do a little comparison. I think he'll have fun with that.
I wonder if McCartney's a Doctor Who fan. I bet
know,
he is. I bet he is.
I would bet that he grew up with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would think so. Most people are, that are from England are. It's the number one show right now.
Right.
Speaking of McCartney, we had Terry Malloy, who was a fellow that was at the Cavern back in the day, right after the Beatles. Let's see what he had to say.
Let me ask a kind of a difficult question, but since the Cavern's not there anymore, is there some way you might be able to describe the environment of the Cavern, or at least the look of it, as it was in the day that you were performing?
Well, you can imagine it was an old industrial building, basically, and it was down in the cellar. So you imagine very low arched, sort of place you'd kind of stash wine, like big wine vaults and things. Very cramped, very small, actually, not much bigger than a fairly large sized bedroom. Very hot, very sweaty. The walls just dripped all the time, and with a band room just off, and a tiny stage about the size of a double bed, which you had to get all your gear on, but. Created just a really great atmosphere. It was a great place to be.
That was kind of interesting to
get, definitely.
A perspective. We did a Beatles show. I keep referring back, but we did a Beatles show. Take a look at that, and that really brings a color to what it was like to be in the Cavern.
I didn't realize how small it was.
Neither did I.
And you can't tell from the pictures.
And it kind of brings it alive a little bit with the walls sweating down in the basement, kind of with a lot of people and that kind of thing.
Crazy.
So that was what it was like to be in the Cavern in the 60s. He was in a band thereafter at the Cavern.
Oh, is that when you said performing, that's what he was doing?
He was a saxophone player for a blues band that the Cavern started to turn to in the 66, 67. They started to play more blues in that location. That was he was talking about. Cool. Very interesting. All of these people have experiences beyond Doctor Who, of course. And I tried to bring a little of that out with some of them, and certainly with Terry. It was just a nice little find that he could bring something like that to the table.
What's great about the show, too, is, how many of these actors flew over from Great Britain? All right, that's a long way to come to, this isn't a huge convention. It's in Long Island. It's not really in New York City, so it's not in a big metropolitan area. New York generally is, but it just shows you the impact that the show is having.
Right. And the commitment that they have to the show, but also talk about the size. This convention, believe it or not, had 3,000 people. I'm not saying, it's huge, but it is big.
It's not small.
And it's growing. Asked Dave what he thought your overall experience was attending a convention on Long Island for a show that you never really had any experience with.
I had a great time. I was there all day, and just the enthusiasm of the fans got me into it. Again, I really knew nothing about the show, a little bit about it. I learned a lot. I got my son an autograph. They're starting a Doctor Who comic book now, and my son's into comic books, so they had I think he was a penciler, sitting there at a table. No one was coming up to this guy, but he was, basically drawing on the cover of the comic and got an autograph. So overall, it was fantastic. I'm looking forward to next year's.
It was a great experience on my side as well. I'm looking forward to it. Come on back, listen to us for more fun and excitement on Everything Old is New.